Howdy folks, my name is Richie, aka Bogotter, and welcome to my very first episode of Tamriel Talk. Now, for those of you who are familiar with my Guild Wars 2 show, Tamriel Talk, you'll kind of know the deal, but basically this is a show that is going to be analysis, commentary, and news about Elder Scrolls Online, an upcoming MMO by ZeniMax Online Studios. Now, I've recently had the chance to play Elder Scrolls Online at both a press event at ZeniMax Studios and at PAX East last weekend, and it's just gotten me kind of excited to talk about the game. I've written a couple of articles. I've actually done one video already about Elder Scrolls, but I just wanted to actually jump into a very specific topic this week, and that is cross-alliance communication. Now, if you're not familiar, in Elder Scrolls Online, there's going to be 3 different alliances people can join. You can be part of the Daggerfall Covenant, the Ebonheart Pact, and the Aldmeri Dominion. Now, each of these alliances has 3 races that you can choose, so there's 9 races in total, and each one starts in a different section of Tamriel. So there's also a big portion of the game that's going to be focused, especially at Endgame. It's going to be a kind of a realm versus realm, or an alliance versus alliance, or world versus world, or whatever term you want to use. I think it's called the Alliance War in Elder Scrolls Online, and it's going to be a faction versus faction versus faction combat that's going to take place in a huge zone called Cyrodiil, which is in the middle of Tamriel. And there's going to be, it's going to be siege warfare. It's going to be, sieging castles, and there's going to be stuff for large groups of people to do, stuff for small groups of people to do. If people have experience with Dark Ages of Camelot or even Guild Wars 2 World War World, it's the similar type concept. Obviously, there's going to be some differences and stuff like that, but that's the idea. Now, the question of communication cross-faction has come up because when I was at ZeniMax Online Studios, I got to interview the creative director, Paul Sage, and I actually expressed directly that I was a little bit concerned with the 3-faction approach, right? We're kind of used to these, split factions in MMOs, right? In World of Warcraft, in Rift, and, lots of others that I'm probably, Star Wars: The Old Republic that I can't think of right now, but we're used to this idea of splitting a faction, and in most of these games, you cannot communicate cross-faction, and they do it for a variety of different reasons. They'll prevent it so that you can't cheat or spy on each other or collaborate with the enemy, but it's mostly to instill this sense of rivalry and loyalty to your own faction, and it makes the choice more meaningful if you just can't communicate cross-faction. But splitting into 3 different factions kind of made me just a little bit nervous, because you're really kind of segregating your player base and you're limiting who you can play with and stuff like that. So I brought this concern up to Paul Sage when I interviewed him, and he made comments that basically said that once you hit max level in Elder Scrolls Online, level 50, you can choose, and there's going to be a story hook that actually explains this, but you can choose to go to another person's alliance, the zones for that alliance, and actually go through the storylines there. And it's actually going to be max level content at that point. It gets bumped up and the rewards are better, and it's actually a more difficult experience. But he basically alluded that when you're in that other faction's area, you can actually communicate with people on that faction, plus anybody from the 3rd faction who might have done the same thing and come over, and basically you can play with other players of other factions in a PvE environment once you hit that level 50 and chose to quest in a different person's area. Now, he even said that if then you finish that 2nd faction's worth of questing, and then you go to the 3rd alliance zones and want to quest there, that you'll open up that communication as well. So I wrote an article, and I kind of basically put all that information in there, and it was an interesting design choice. And at that point, I kind of made the comment that, I'd like there to be some cross alliance communication, but if you're gonna, it felt kind of clunky if you have to wait till level 50 to do that, right? It's like, if you're gonna allow it at level 50, then why not just allow it the whole time and just cut off communication if you go to the big PvP zone in Cyrodiil? Segregate it there. Segregate it in PvP, because that makes sense. But just don't put this mechanic in there that makes it seem clunky. So I put that into my article. And what was interesting was several other interviews and articles came out the same day that mine did on massively.com, because there was an embargo lift and all the press people that were at the press event were able to talk about it. And some of the interviews that took place, obviously not including me, on these other sites, actually talked to different people at ZeniMax, and they stated that there would not be any kind of cross-faction communication. And so it contradicted what Paul Sage told me and subsequently what I put in my article. And they said that when you actually go to another PvE zone, you can't communicate with that faction, but you can communicate with other members of your faction who also are questing there. So now there was all this confusion and stuff. So I made it a point last weekend when I went to the Elder Scrolls Online party at PAX East, which was amazing, by the way. Check out my PAX East 2013 video for all the details on that. But I talked to Paul Sage again, and I basically said, hey, look, you gave me this information, and other people gave different information. Can you help me clarify this thing? And basically, the sense I got, I can't quote him exactly because I wasn't recording the conversation or anything like that. The sense that I got was things may still change, but we should take his word for it because that's kind of like his system that he's designing. And he even alluded to the fact that we're just going to make communication cross-faction open for PvE purposes. And the sense I got was not even wait till the level 50 experience, which is great because that's kind of what I was kind of alluding to in my article, that that kind of doesn't make sense to make you wait till level 50 and then all of a sudden open it up. So that's the latest information I have on it. Obviously, it's still, they just started sending out beta invites. We're still got a long road until this game releases. Designers absolutely have the right to change these kind of decisions for the good of their game. But I thought it was interesting. I wanted to clarify it to anybody who was still confused of what the latest information was. But now let me kind of just analyze a little bit of what I think about this. One of the things that when you have 3 different factions and you have 9 different races, right, and you're doing 3 factions of 3 races, it's going to be kind of hard to coordinate with your friends or your guildmates who you want to play with this game and get everybody to kind of jump on board with the same faction, right? Because I might really like playing Khajiit, right? But the only other races with Khajiit are the High Elves and the Wood Elves, and maybe everybody else that I want to play with, they want to be Orcs or they want to be Argonians or Nord or Dark Elves or something like that. Then I'm pretty much going to be screwed because I'm not going to be able to play the Khajiit that I want to play. So I think, in a lot of these games that split the factions, you might have like 7, 8 races to choose from per faction, or maybe like at least 6 or something. To have only 3 and make it so that all the people you're going to be communicating with this game always are stuck on one of these 3 races kind of didn't feel that right to me. So that was one thought I had. Now, the other thought I had was splitting your population, your player population, into 3 separate factions. It kind of like hurts your ability to like play things together, right? What if you want to run like a 4-man dungeon like they have in Elder Scrolls Online? Now you got to look at 1/3 of the population, and those are potential group mates if you bar any kind of communication. Same thing with just doing any kind of like, like they have these adventure zones, which is kind of like open world PvE content, or if you just want to, find new players for your guild, you're kind of looking at a very small slice of the population in order to fill that. Now, this game, Elder Scrolls Online, has mega server technology, which means there's not separate servers. If you had separate servers, like most MMOs do, and you split the servers into 3 factions, I think that's a recipe for disaster. If your game doesn't have a very heavy population on every one of those servers, good luck finding people to do anything. But I think with the mega server technology, Elder Scrolls Online could probably pull off 3 factions and keep them completely separate. Don't allow any communication, because the fact that you're going to have your entire population basically able to play with each other because of the mega server technology. But this is probably the key reason why I'm glad that at least right now they are going to allow cross-faction communication. And I keep saying faction, but I mean alliance, but I think you can understand that. The main reason I like this is because if we know this in advance, right, if we know that there's going to have this open kind of communication in advance, you can kind of plan this better with your friends and your guild potentially. Now, there's even been talk potentially. They made some sort of comment a while ago that said, "Hey, don't be so sure that you won't be able to have a guild cross faction," or something, some sort of tease that led me to believe. My interpretation of it was that we might see guilds be able to have members that are in different alliances and such. That would be totally awesome and interesting. I know there's going to be people that really want it kept separate. And, you might be watching this going, no, why are you saying this? And, people are totally, right to that opinion. Like I said earlier in the video, you kind of get that sense of rivalry and that, that loyalty to your own faction and that pride for your own faction. And that is deeper and probably easier to, feel if the factions are completely separate. But I like the fact that if they announce ahead of launch that, yes, you can communicate, do dungeons, play with people cross-faction, and then in PvP, you're just going to kick each other's butts. If they announce that, then you can kind of talk to your friends. You don't have to start in the same place, and you can still, I just hit my mic, and you can still feel like you're going to be able to play with people that choose a different race, that choose a different faction, and you might even be able to have a guild that, encompasses people from multiple factions as well. So if we know that in advance, the community can kind of, absorb that and start to make plans, and I think it'll work pretty well. Like I said, if they do choose to just go back on this and totally make it separate, I think the mega server technology, there will still be enough players on your faction to facilitate this and to make sure that it works. But I don't love the fact that I'm just going to have these three races are the only three races I'm going to be able to communicate with in my entire play experience, unless I make an alt or something like that. So I don't know. Let me know what you think, guys. This is a kind of a difficult topic to discuss. I know people are going to, there's going to be people that really want it separate, and there's going to be people that don't want it to be separate at all. So there's really no right or wrong here. Just let me know what you think in the comments field below. Please like and favorite this video so that more people can see it, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can be notified when future videos are released. And also you can contact me on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter and Twitch. I'll put all that information up on the screen or down below, or both. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Tamriel Talk, and I'll see everybody next time. Take care. I was in the apothecary at Windhelm, and the strangest thing happened to me. A Breton and an Orc walked in and started to communicate with me. The Breton said, "Good day, sir." And I was like, "Why are you talking to me? I'm in the Ebonheart Pact." And he went, No, sir. I am level 50 now, and I have chosen to quest in your faction's area." And the Orc said, "Yes, but you can only talk to him because we're not engaged in PvP. And I said, "Really? Is that how it works?" So I took out my sword and I stabbed him. Shut him up real quick.